Hey folks, it's Bishopheals from the ECF forums and host on Vape TV. How the hell are you guys doing, baby? Forget about it. Hey, I'm here today because let me tell you, people are getting some replies and they're asking as far as for certain coil builds on the new Penelope version 3, baby. Using the new deck. Yes, using the new deck, which doesn't come in ceramic. No, it doesn't. But this is the good thing. You don't have to use non-resistance wires. No more non-resistance wires, just like on my Ithaca over here right now. Delicious. Okay, so since a few people are having some issues, I'm not going to give you an advanced coil build. No, this is going to be a simple method. Very simple, extremely simple. Very simple, and my grandma can do it. Forget about it, okay? It's that freaking simple. But in order to actually do this, I'm going to start from beginning to end. It's completely disassembled. I'm going to show you how you assemble this from scratch, okay? And how you mount this coil. So for your advanced GG users out there, you can feel free and fast forward a little bit to the part as far as when I start building the coil on there if you like. Or you can actually be entertained and watch the whole entire video. Okay, this is going to be a little bit longer, but it's because I want to cover up some of the basics to help out some of the people that just recently got their version 3s and they need a little bit of helping hand, shall I say. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Okay, so here we are. We have the Penelope version 3 completely laid out. Forget about it. Now, I took these pieces apart, so it would be more or less like as if you just finished cleaning it, okay? This is stainless steel, good quality stainless steel. You can wash it with hot water, a little bit of soap if you like, and then you air dry it, paper towel, and you can clean it that way. Now, looking at this Avid, he did change, as you can see. Here's one of the poles. Okay, and here's the second one. One is longer than the other. Yes, okay, the short one is on the 510. Do you see that? Right on the 510 connector. Okay, that is the short one. Let's see if it can autofocus. Let's see. I hate my camera, I tell you. Okay, let's see. There we go. It needed a little bit of a helping hand. It's getting there. It's getting there. And it's there. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's already been cleaned, okay, and it's with a flathead screw, all stainless steel parts, and you pretty much hand tighten them right onto that little base that's there, okay, and that's the 510 connector. Now, the other thing to keep note is that when you actually mount this Delrin, okay, there are four holes, opening holes on the side. You need to look for the biggest one, okay, the biggest one. Let me keep turning. Here we are. Okay. See that? That's pretty much the biggest hole. Now, we have to insert that parallel towards the other pole. Right there. Do you see that? The opening is pretty big. So we put this in. Okay. Just like that. Just like that. And we squeeze it with our fingers, and that's how it looks. You want to make sure that it's parallel. You're going to have a little bit of a gap of the opening, which is okay. But that's how pretty much how it's supposed to look. There's the big opening right there. Because where that opening is, that's where we put in the other pole. But before we do that, we have to put in this Delrin in. Okay, this would actually keep it together. And you would hand tighten that. Just like that. There we go. Now, that's what it's supposed to look like. And you want to make sure it's flush. Okay? You see that? It's completely flush. There is no gaps. It's very, very crucial that there is no gaps. So you take your time when you do this. Now we're going to insert the actual pole. Now, you see that? You can't insert it with the screw in straight, so you have to put it in the side. That's all. So when you put it in the side, that's how it looks. Okay? And the same thing applies. You want to make sure it is flushed. Okay? Then you take the other plastic Delrin, you put it in, but this is the base. but however, you know, we're not gonna. There you go. You see that? Now the opening that's there. Okay, you see that? There's two slots that are open. You can close it if you like. However, it's not really meant for that. I mean, I prefer it to be open just like that, but you need to look at the two poles because you got to match the two poles to be facing the outer channels. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, you see the center of the two poles right there. Okay, you see where I was just holding. Now you see where the wick hole is on the sides there. You want to make sure that those two holes are open, so that way it's lined up, because you see how it's very easy, you can turn it, and if you turn it you can close it, but then the wick just doesn't line up correctly, you know. So I would prefer it to be the way I'm going to set it up now, leaving it open on the bottom, okay, and having the two poles opposite direction of the actual outer channels, because I want to have the silica wick to be coming from the side, from right there on the side. You see that? Okay, so let me line this up. Here we go. It's very easy. You can just turn it by hand. See that the two slits are actually lined up now? Okay, now the only thing I need to do is just hold it with my finger underneath. Okay, now I insert the Delrin. Okay, then after that I put in the 510 little pin. Now this is adjustable. Alright, there's two adjustable points on there, and there's an O-ring. Okay, so you just want to tighten it with your fingers, with your hand only. Okay, and you don't want to tighten it too much. You just want to first check it out, make sure that the two holes are lining up to the outer channel. Now it's lining up. Now I can actually go ahead and continue tightening the actual 510 connector. Okay, there we go. Just a little bit. There we go. Now it's already pretty much tight. Okay, now as you can see, the two holes are already pretty much lined up where for the channel of the wick. And this O-ring, well, we're going to use it, but first let's just remove it for now. And now, you know, we're pretty much almost ready to actually start getting our coil together. Yes, we're going to get our coil together. Now this is from Avid Vapor, okay? It's a great tool to use to make your coils. Now what I'm actually going to use here is a 2 milliliter size diameter bit. Okay, that's what I'm actually going to use, because I'm going to be inserting a 3M wick into these coils. Okay, but I'm going to be using 25 gauge Canthal, and I'm going to actually start wrapping. And I'm going to wrap them like microcoils, very close together, okay? Completely snug together with a lot of force. I'm actually tightening as I keep wrapping, okay? And I put them close together. And what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to be creating 7 wraps on this build. Total 7 wraps. And let me just keep tightening it. Okay. Getting there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to yank on it for some extra pressure on the 2 leads, just like that. Okay, now I can snip it. Yep, I do use my nail clippers. Yes. Gives me nice clean cuts. Definitely. And let me just look at it. Okay, so let me just yank them a little bit more closer together. And that's pretty much how it looks. Okay, now that's before any torching or anything like that is actually done. Obviously, if you want them really close together, we can just torch it directly and squeeze them a little more, but I'm just going to skip that step, because this is more for a very I want this as simple, very simple, non-complicated build for you. Okay, it's very important. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to be snaking our 3M silica wick. And what I do is I just use a piece of wire that I just bend to actually help me snake it through. So that's why it's like 2 pieces of 3M, because it's being doubled. And I'm going to insert it right through the coil, like so. Okay, and you're gonna encounter some resistance, okay, because this is we're using 2M of a diameter on the bit, and we'll use a pair of pliers to help snug it right through. Okay, as you can see that it has a little bit of resistance, and that's exactly what we want. We want to make sure it has a resistance. Remove my snaking through wire, and here we are. There it is. Okay, now what we'll do is I'm going to snip this side. Okay, there we go, and those are my 2 sets of wicks. Okay, and then we'll trim the wicks a little bit later when we start mounting it, once it's done. So now we'll take our Addy, we'll start unfastening the flathead screws, and we're going to get ready to mount this on. Ooh, and this is going to be so good. This is going to be so delicious. This is going to be fantastic. Magnifique, I tell you, c'est son blanc. I tell you, ooh, forget about it. So, as you can see, I already loosened it up. Let me see if I can focus that a little bit. There we go. Now you can see it a little bit clearly. And what we're going to do is we're going to mount the wraps right in the center. You see that? Totally in the center. We'll just gently bend the lead, okay, onto the screw, as you can see there. And we'll yank on it just a little bit, just to position it, okay? Very simple, just like that. And holding it down with my nail, I'm going to start screwing it in just a bit. I just want to make sure that it's just lined up properly. Okay, so now I can start screwing it down. Not too tight, but just enough to hold it. Now we have to work on the other side. I'm not going to cut the lead just yet, just in case I need to adjust it, but now I'm going to work on the other side. And we're going to start wrapping this up with a little bit pair of pliers, just a little bit, and we'll start screwing it down, just like so. Okay. Now the other thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure it's tight. After you've already inspected it, just tighten it up, and then you have to test it. You have to make sure that the leads don't come out. You see how this one is very easy and it just came out? So you want to make sure that it's tight, okay, and it's holding the wire. Okay, so now let me just unfasten a little bit and snake it back in. Okay, so now it's in. I'm going to screw it. And I'm just making sure that the wire is snugged. There we go. Now I'm just going to tighten it. Making sure that the wraps are not touching the poles. Very important. You don't want the wraps to be touching the poles, otherwise it's going to short. But this is how it looks. See that? So now what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up. We're going to be cutting off the leads. Okay. And once we finish cutting off the leads, we're going to be straightening out the wick. We're going to be cleaning up the wick. Okay. So now let's start cutting only up to that O-ring. Okay. Okay, just like that. Do the same on this one. Blowing on it. Alright, so now we're almost done. I'm just cleaning up the wick. I don't want no loose frails to be floating in my tank. But there she is. Okay. Look at that. Isn't she beautiful? Forget about it. Hoofa. And again, like I said, you want to make sure that these wraps are not touching the poles. Okay? They're not touching the poles. That's why, like I said, I used a 2M diameter when I was actually making these wraps. And that's pretty much ideal for it. Okay? And then you just slipped in, 2 pieces of 3M silica wick. And wait, before I actually put this onto the bottom tank, I gotta put in the O-ring. So, but I just wanted to show you how it looks. I was just wanting to make sure that the wicks were not long enough. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to be inserting the O-ring. But before we do, we're going to use a little bit of Vaseline. Okay, very important. You want to use a little bit of Vaseline just to give it a little bit of lubrication on the O-ring. Okay. Very, very thin layer, nothing big, nothing grand, just a little bit, that's all. And we insert it in, okay, just like that. And now we can mount it on the base. Screw it in gently, because this is our queen. This is our queen, Penelope, and you need to be very, very careful with her. Oh, she's a very delicate Addie. Very delicate. Ooh, very pristine. Ooh. So there's the adjustable 510. Very easy to adjust. And now what we're going to do is we got to get the juice. We got to get the juice. Let's see. Hoo-wah. Man, I am out of my cinnamon titties, but that's okay. But let's put in the battery. Ho-ho. Yes, nothing but the best. SX22s, baby. Forget about it. Onto my Just GG. And now, being that I'm totally out of my juice, but first let's do a quick dry burn. We need to make sure that the wraps are lighting up evenly. Very, very important. And she is firing. I can light up a basement with this. Forget about it. Look at that. Doesn't she look beautiful? Foo-fa. Very beautiful. Look at that. And very important, like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that those wraps are not touching the poles. Very, very, very important. Okay? Very important. So let me just remove it from my Just GG. And we're going to have to check the ohms. So let me just remove it from my Just GG. Let me get my ohm meter. Let me insert it in. And we're at 0.6 ohms. Yes, baby, 0.6 ohms. And this is, again, 25 gauge Canthal. Okay, 7 wraps. Okay. And this Canthal is available at Fluid Vapor. I get it from them. They have the best quality of wires that you can actually dream of, I tell you. Especially wicks. Oofa. So this is an adjustable 510, as you can see. I'm just adjusting it very slightly, putting it back into my Just GG. Ooh, yeah. Doesn't she look pretty? She's pretty. Forget about it. Oofa. Just very, 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 very elegant, very, very gorgeous, that's for sure. Now let's see. Yep, she is firing beautifully, totally beautifully. Now the big dilemma, the biggest dilemma of them all, the juice. Here we go. So we're going to be using this is another rendition of Fluid Vapor's juice. Juice. I can smell this juice. Oh, it's just so delicious of a smell. Oh, man. It's right up there with cinnamon titties, baby. But who doesn't like cinnamon titties? Forget about it. Oofa. Oh, man. And this is like all VG juice. Very thick juice. Oh, yes, baby. Totally. Now, I flooded the whole freaking wick, as you can see. And I'm just testing the wraps to see if there is any red coils lighting up before 10 seconds. And so far, none whatsoever. So that means I could chain vape 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 14 seconds. And no red coil means no metal taste. No dry taste. No type of taste. Okay? It's very, very, very important you prime up this wick beforehand and you test it like the way I'm doing it now. Now we're going to start putting in the mouthpiece. And very gently, what you want to do is you want to screw it in slowly, and you want to screw it all the way down. And then what you want to do is you want to remove any of the leftover wick that's actually exposed. You really don't need it. You don't need it, believe me. So before we put this tank in, let me just clean up the wick. Let me just clip it off. See that? That's it, because you really don't need it to be exposed, because when the juice control is closed, it's closed, okay? And nothing else is going to be going through. So this is pretty much how she looks, okay? But now let me just reset the... Okay, so let me get a paper towel. Just for the edges, because it's already primed. It's completely primed. So before we mount the tank, let's see how she works, okay? And there's no tank, and as you can see, there's no more juice going in. It's only from what we finished dripping, okay? So that, man, that tastes so good. Very, very delicious. So you know what that means? I still haven't had no more drips. I'm telling you, I can keep vaping off of this thing for a little bit longer. I mean, I feel it kind of saturated, okay, which is nice. So now we finish off the build. This is 0.6 ohms, okay, microcoil. Now we finish adding the juice. Fluid, if you're watching, I'm running low on my juice, my man. Okay, so now close this up. Okay, now generally what I do is this. Once I filled up the tank like it is right now, I vape on it until it starts getting a little bit dry. When I feel like it's not as moist, it's not very moist like vape, I start opening up this juice control. Okay, let's open it up a little and play it by ear. I leave the airway completely open. Okay, now I'm getting a dry hit, okay? And being that I'm getting a dry hit, now I gotta open up the juice control. Now what I like to do is just open it up about halfway. I do about 4 or 5 turns. And voila, she works beautifully. Totally delicious. Now, this is, again, this was a simple build. Very simple build. You can use 2M in diameter, or you can use 2.5 diameter. If you use 2.5, your ideal silica will probably be 3.5. I'm going to tell you straight out, it's going to be 3.5. If you use 2M of a diameter to make the coils, I would use a 3M wick silica. Now, I have done this in cotton. I have done this with mesh. On my Ithacas, you can actually check the Ithaca the new rebuildable part. It's also on my YouTube channel, which I show you how to use mesh and cotton and so forth. And you can do the same thing on here, okay? But being that some people were asking, you know, how can I improve on the vape, on the taste, on the moisture, because they were getting dry hits, do this build. My friend, do this build. I'm telling you, it's not overly hot. It's not very, very heated. If you want it heated, believe me, less wraps. If you have 25 gauge Canto, instead of 7 wraps, do 5 wraps if you want more heat. But it's very delicious the way it is right now. I mean, it's the queen of GG, for crying out loud. Great vapor, great taste. Imeo, oh, you're batting 1,000, my friend. Very, very delicious. And I can keep opening up the juice control. Alright, now I have it all the way open. It's all the way open, and just to show you, there is no leaks, no leaks, no leaks, nothing. It's bone dry, okay? It's bone dry. It's delicious. What can I say? All right, I'm gonna cut the video here. Apologies for the advanced users, but I had to do this video for the new people that were getting this device, and they were having some minor issues. If you do wish some advanced coils on the Penelope, I'll do that at a later date. Okay, but for now, I just wanted to show a very simple way of doing a microcoil on the Penelope, very low sub ohms. Okay. And she performs beautifully. No dry taste, no metal taste, just wet, juicy, exploding vapor out of your mouth. I tell you, you look like a dragon. Can't go wrong, right? Forget about it. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Live hard and vape hard. Forget about it.